So that is why I am so proud to introduce Phil Regier, University Dean for Educational Initiatives and CEO of EdPlus at ASU, who will be giving us a keynote presentation on breaking barriers, building futures, ASU's innovation-inspired road to 200,000 students. This session promises to offer insights into ASU's groundbreaking strategies that have led to significant growth and recognition as a model for the future of university education.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I appreciate it, and it is actually a very large privilege to be able to speak for a few minutes about ASU. I also want to thank the schedulers for this particular event. I appreciate very much being asked to speak on February 14th. I don't know exactly how it works in India, but I will tell you February 14th is an unofficial holiday in the US. It's Valentine's Day, and I think I speak for a lot of Americans who say I would cheerfully travel halfway around the globe to avoid making that restaurant reservation and going out to eat on Valentine's Day. So very nice to be here. Now, I have about 10 minutes to talk about ASU, and all I can do in that time is give you a flavor of the university. We often refer to ASU as a new American university, and what I'm going to ask you to do for the next 10 minutes is to try and erase from your mind, to the extent possible, all of your thoughts about what American universities are, because basically ASU has taken a particular mold and broken it. And we're working very hard to build a new type of American university built around the notion of egalitarian access. So let me begin, though, with something that I think will be very relevant to Indian universities as well. This shows the growth rate in the student population at ASU over the past 15 years. And it shows that in 2007, we had about 70,000 students. And by 2023, 2024, we had about 170,000 students. And so for those of you who can do math quickly in your head, that's about 140% growth rate, and it represents a 6% year-over-year average growth rate during that 15-year period. Now, it's not, I have to say, growing the university isn't as important as why we grew the university. And that is encapsulated in a single, rather long sentence, and that sentence is the charter of Arizona State University, and it really is the North Star, and it guides everything that we do at the university, and it has three aspects of it. The first part says that we're going to measure ourselves by who we include and how they succeed. That's the inclusion mission, and that's the part that we often refer to as the access mission. The second part says that we're going to do research of public value, because we are a research university at the core, and we have a talented faculty that focuses on creation and discovery in the research model. And then the third thing says we're going to assume overall responsibility for the health of the communities that we serve. Now, when you put together this, it does not say, but for example, that we're going to worry only about including students who can come to a face-to-face campus. It says we're going to focus on including as many people as possible, because the overall health of the community will improve if we can serve more and more students. More and more degreed learners in the community advance the community in very important ways. And so this charter drives everything we do, and it drives our motivation for growth at Arizona State University. Now, as important as the charter is, it has to be always focused on excellence. So we aren't just talking about inclusion, we're also talking about being excellent at the same time. If we had simply grown the number of students, but our creative and discovery activities had not kept pace, it wouldn't matter much. What really matters here is the excellence with which you pursue including more and more students. So let me focus on a few things here. Number one, as you can see from this chart, the light yellow is the growth in the online student population. And so most of the growth over the past 15 years has been driven by the online students. but we have exactly the same standards for the online students that we have for the face-to-face population. The same admission standards, the same learning outcomes have to be achieved. What we didn't want to do is develop a bunch of online degrees for also-ran students. And so the students that we serve online and the students that we serve face-to-face, we serve in exactly the same way. We just treat those two things as different modalities. The same faculty that teach and deliver to the face-to-face students also teach and deliver to the online students. The mix of the faculty is almost exactly the same. And then the third thing we focus on is excellence in programs. So right now we have about 350 programs that are online. We have about 800 programs that are available to on-campus students. But those 350 programs, about half of them are at the undergraduate level, about half of them are at the graduate level. But we've managed to figure out how to deliver some topics that people thought you could never do online. So in 2014, we launched the first in the world, actually, ABET. That's the accreditation agency for engineering in the U.S. ABET accredited electrical engineering degree online. Since then, we have launched mechanical engineering, we have computer science, we have several engineering degrees. We have 7 engineering degrees, in fact, and we also have degrees in the hard sciences. We have BS and BAs in physics. We have biochemistry degrees for the graduates who are moving on to some of the most prestigious medical schools in the country. We have 4,500 students in our online biology major. And so we really focused during the time on figuring out how we can deliver the same program or better to the online students, and then the faculty take what they've done and they will also utilize it in the face-to-face classes. And so growing with excellence is a really important part of what we do. Now, by the way, this particular slide focuses on other ways in which we have achieved excellence. So we have Nobel laureates, we have members of the National Academy of Sciences and the National Academy of Engineering, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't just focus on growth, we focused on growth with excellence. Now, during this journey, during this 10-year journey, what did we do? We had to innovate, and so we constantly innovate. And you have perhaps heard that for the last 9 years, ASU has been ranked as the most innovative university in the country, and they're more innovative. They outrank MIT and Stanford, who traditionally are number 2 and 3 in that list. And so an important aspect of innovation, and the part I'd like you to keep in mind, is that we utilize something called intentional design. And intentional design as opposed to organic evolution or organic change. So intentional design, an example of intentional design is 10 years ago, or 15 years ago rather, when we had 400 students, we wanted to create an online platform that would serve 40,000 students. In other words, we're always looking 10 years ahead, and we're going to ask ourselves, we aren't going to wait for external factors to push us. We're going to ask ourselves, where do we want to be in 5 years and 10 years? And then we begin building now to get to that point. I think President Crow is probably the only president in American university who's ever stood up in front of 500 staff and said, I don't want you to think of yourselves as managers. I want you to think of yourselves as designers. And so we focus very intently on a system of intentional design. Now, an example of intentional design that I can point out to everybody is this particular chart. At ASU, everybody has, all universities have what we refer to as the academic enterprise. The academic enterprise is the degree granting part of the university that historically has roots in Europe, universities, Oxford and Cambridge, universities in Italy, etc. It's the degree granting part of the university. The knowledge enterprise refers to that part of the university that does funded research. Last year, ASU had over $800 million of funded research. That puts it ahead of schools that you've heard of, like Yale and Princeton and Columbia, University of Chicago. It's one of the largest amounts funded by a university that doesn't have a medical school. And again, an example of how we achieve excellence while at the same time growing our programs. But the really interesting thing up here is the orange box, the learning enterprise. because we decided to take all of the assets of a great university and begin deploying them to people who weren't necessarily seeking a degree, but they may be seeking a pathway into a university, or they may already have a degree and they may need upskilling, or they may not want a degree, they just want to get some additional training so that they can improve their life and their job. And so we added a third leg of the stool called the learning enterprise, and we're going to focus incredible energy on developing that going forward. Why? Because the US requires that type of activity from a high-quality university as much as it requires degree production right now. And so let me end with this final thought. As we've removed physical barriers to degrees and to online learning, we did it for a particular reason. 75 years ago, India achieved its independence. Almost 250 years ago, the US fought battles with the British so that we could achieve our independence as well. And then we formed a republic based on the will of the people, okay? Now, we have yet to have universities that have fully realized that, where everybody who wants a degree, everybody who's capable of earning a degree, is able to come to that university and achieve a degree. That's called egalitarian access. We're still bounded in some sense by the elite universities of the past, Cambridge and Oxford, and in the US, Harvard and Yale and Princeton, and there's nothing wrong with those universities, and they have a place and they have centuries of tradition. But we also have to create a university that will be accessible to larger and larger and broader swaths of the population if we're going to achieve everything that universities can achieve. And that's what ASU is trying to do in creating a new type of American university. So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it.